Groaners, welcome along to another episode of the Groan Zone. The podcast will soon be turning 2 years old. Hard to believe it's been going that long. But back to the present for another packed show. Taking a break from specials for a week because soon enough we have 3 specials on the go. But more about them when they come in the future. Double Down Dummies and Gimme the Question and Where the Hell Am I are your games. You gotta get points on this week, Groaners. I've been asked, what do the points get? Is it prizes? No, it's more like props to yourself for knowing things. And now, it forced me to boot the show into orbit now, with my groans to start us off. Getting nervous for no reason. I hate this feeling. You're going to do a show or something, and even though you know what you're doing, you still get nervous. Why? I even get nervous before recording some episodes of the podcast, especially when I know there's lots of tongue twisters in them. I'm talking about you, Admin Nicole. When someone asks you to add or contact them, you bump into a friend or someone you've not seen in ages. You realise you had an old number or something, so you swap details. You add and message the person, and then they don't bother even though you've told them who you are. If you want to keep in touch with someone, make an effort, or just say you don't want to, or leave a group you were in. Simple as that. Rather than someone just being made a fool of. Standing someone up. So you have a date and it's been planned for a while. Standing someone up. So you have a date and it's been planned for a while. Why do then some lads and lasses think it's funny to stand the other up? Even worse in some cases, without an explanation, they then ghost the other person. This isn't big and it certainly isn't clever. Once again, I've pushed my groans away into the whirlpool that is the Groan Zone. One of you gets your turn later, Groaners. Feeling clever, are you, Groaners? These Double Down Dummies were not so clever. Quick disclaimer. Once again, we must state, this game is not to poke fun at the deceased or the circumstances they died in. Also, please do not try any stunt any past, present, or future Darwiner has. We will not be held responsible here at Groan Zone headquarters for anything that may arise from this game. Okay? With that being said, here we go, on with the fun. Round 1. This occurred in Brazil in July 2013. I should also say Groaners Live are obviously ready. You're listening, Groaner. Yep, I'm talking about you. Yeah, you. You're ready too. Round 1. This occurred in Brazil in July 2013. A man died in hospital of internal bleeding after an incident in his home. But what incident led to his premature demise? Was it A. He had a fight with his wife, who then proceeded to stab him. He bandaged himself up and went to bed. He then had to be rushed to hospital and unfortunately died in the early hours of the morning after waiting too long to be seen. Or B. He was lying in bed when suddenly a cow fell through the roof, landing on him. He went to hospital and sadly died of his injuries after waiting too long to be seen. Or C. He was in a crouched position, mending a chair in his house when suddenly his 11-year-old son thought it would be funny to kick his father in the junk from behind. The innocent joke led to a hospital stay where sadly the bleeding couldn't be stopped and he died overnight. Groaners Live answers please. Those at home, you know what to do. We've got a split on live. Season B's flown in. Literally as soon as I asked for the answers. Season B's. Okay, Groaners Live, I hear loud and clear. Groaner at home, you got a couple more seconds. Done. Moving on. Round 2. This occurred in July 2022 in Erfstadt. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Anyone in Germany, my apologies. In Germany, a man slipped into unconsciousness at the wheel and hit the side of a house. The fire brigade were then called. But what did they discover that had led to his death? Was it A, he had been awake for 3 days beforehand and the impact of the crash killed him when his sleeping head smacked off the steering wheel violently? B, he'd been on a drugs binge and on a heavy come down he passed out, but his heart failed as well due to the after effects of his overdose? Or C, he had been given a seminar on barbecues and between venues he hadn't extinguished the barbecue correctly. He died of carbon monoxide poisoning. Go Groaners Live, answers please. Those at home, you know what to do. C's flying in there. Okay, C's live. Okay, I hear you, Groaners Live. Alright, stop. Just loads of C's flew in there. Groaner at home, you got a couple more seconds for your answer. All in fair warned. Bang, that's it. Lordy Lord, we've had some belters there, Groaners? But did you score points? That is the question. You'll find out later, because now we must ask, why oh why? So recently, I had to take meds for an issue I had under a tooth. It still needs looking at. Shout out to my dentist, hi! And I read the side effects. Now I definitely had one bout of audio hallucinations, and also trapped wind, not to be gross out there Groaners, but I scared myself stupid reading the other side effects. It's madness that some antibiotics, etc., we need to take in this day and age can possibly make us feel worse than the issue. Giving yourself paranoia, I've just got to ask, why oh why? We've asked the why oh why, but now we must delve into the creepy part of the podcast with Admin Nicole's Creepy Corner. Your story for this week, Groaners, is called The Death Scribes. Viola could tell that Valencia was dying to tell her off, and that she did warn her. Luckily, she remained silent. Unfortunately, that was due to her mind being elsewhere. After the skull was burned onto Viola's hand, everything started turning weird. The crows were louder than ever, which was setting off the ravens, and for a brief moment, the moon replaced the sun. Too brief for anyone else to notice, but not Valencia. Something was very wrong, and it was connected to that mark. Viola began to realise that the vines on her hands were pointing somewhere. The more she moved her arm, the more the vines kept going in the same direction. It was trying to lead them somewhere, but where? No doubt, whatever it was, couldn't be good, but this was something they had to do before things got any worse. Valencia calmed the ravens down, who in turn squawked at the crows to be quiet, as the ravens looked at Valencia with a smug grin, proud of themselves. So on they went to unknown horrors and dangers to find the truth behind yet another mystery. Starting to look like a regular day for them. A little mystery, a lot of horror, and not a big reveal of truth at the end of it that they could have done without. Just a regular day, really. The vines were slowly spreading across Viola's body. They could only hope they could solve this in time. It was like a countdown waiting for a bomb to go off. Only problem was, they didn't know what the bomb was in this situation. The vines led them past the desert they were in and deep into a forest. The trees kept growing the further in they walked until they covered the sky entirely. Suddenly the forest was dark and quiet. It gave off an eerie foreboding feeling, and they couldn't see much in front of them. They held their hands to make sure they wouldn't get lost, and the ravens and the crows put out on a temporary truce to get through the dark woods. A clearing in the woods revealed a swamp of some kind. The waters were deep, and moss covered almost everywhere. The vines led them across the swamp, climbed over fallen trees, and wading through a deep bog. One thing they had forgotten was just how some creatures had evolved thanks to the Great War, and something Viola was just about to realise when she felt something brush past her. The bog was impossible to see past, but one thing Viola knew was she was not taking chances and grabbed Valencia's hand before making a run to the other side. The thickness of the bog made it hard to run, but the noise made the unknown creature more aware of their location. The ravens and crows were watching from the branches ahead, but once the beast made its presence known, they knew they had to act. A giant leech twice the size of them jumped out of the bog, and the ravens tried all they could to distract the monster so they could get out. They hurried out of the bog and ran to the trees for cover, as Valencia thanked the ravens for their help. It was agreed to find another way to get back, and not to set foot in there again. After they had calmed down, they began to notice a plume of smoke in the distance. Finding it hard to believe anyone would choose to live so far from anything, they had to investigate. The crows once again began to circulate, and even the ravens sensed danger from that small house. Valencia was aware of danger though, and she couldn't help but wonder if the birds were almost wired into believing something that wasn't entirely true. The door to the house opened as they approached. A young woman walked out, stretching her arms as she looked up at the darkness above. Then she looked straight at the two girls, drenched from the bog, and invited them in. She helped clean them up and offered them fresh clothes. Then another girl entered the house. This one was much younger, the woman's daughter perhaps. Valencia tried to speak and ask for help or answers, but the woman would just stop her. She knew the mark on Viola's hand and the vine slowly taking over, and she just carried on. Even the daughter was unaffected. After they ate, the small girl ran upstairs and came down with a rather heavy book that she slammed on the table. The book had the same mark as the one on Viola's hand. The woman sat down with her daughter and told them it was a matter of time before one finally broke the seal. Her daughter smiled excitedly, knowing like others before her, she got to be the one to see it all happen. I'd say you're looking for answers, but to give them to you, I'd first have to explain there are no answers. Your kind and our master were removed from history, from even time itself. We are the death scribes. Hidden away, passing tales down generation to generation until one of you breaks the seal, the woman replied. You've no idea what you've even started now, do you, Death Maiden? Her daughter smiled. Death Maiden? Broken seals? Is Nicole going to reveal all next week, Groaners, or the week after? Who knows? Stay tuned into the Groan Zone to find out. And we've once again had Nicole steer us on the creepy road, but now we have one of you running the show via me with your audience groan. Simeon F of Birmingham via Facebook Messenger was the one selected this week. And he groans about rude people. I just don't understand people. I was shopping the other day in Marks and Spencer's, and the amount of people who bumped into me or drove their trolley into mine was unreal. Did we forget common sense and manners in this day and age? Come on, people. Well, this seems a big bugbear with people out there, myself included. You aren't the first to groan about this, Simeon. Cheers for the groan. And if you want to groan in like Simeon, or share your why or what the, your oh the lucky story, nominate a hero or zero of the week, or simply to give us feedback, you can do so in a wide variety of ways, Groaners. What are they? You can drop us an email at thegroanzonepod@gmail.com. You can hit up myself or Admin Nicole on Mr. E. Groaner, or it's not Admin Nicole, it's Nicole Amos on Facebook Messenger. You can find the Groan Zone podcast on Discord under the Groan Zone, where we record every Friday, normally about 8:30. If time should change, we will notify you beforehand. And lastly, you can of course find us on Facebook under the you can find us under the Facebook groups under the Groan Zone podcast. And lastly, put a comment on any episode and it'll be picked up and reviewed and may possibly feature in a future show. Rolling along from Groans now, we play another game by the name of Gimme the Question. Round 1. Your answer is Triphalia. Your questions, Groaners, sorry. Of course, everyone's ready. I know you are. Hang in there. Your questions are A. What is the medical term for being born with 3 fingers on one hand? B. What is the phobia of things that are grouped in threes? Or C. What is the word for the situation when a guy is born with 3 willies? Go Groaners live, give me your answers. Those at home, you know what to do. C's flying in there. Any more Groaners live? What you got? Any more? B's flying in. A's flying in. Okay, we have a pretty even spread for every answer. Okay, well I should say every question. I keep getting that confused, I don't know why, Groaners. Sorry. Any more for Groaner at home? You've got a couple more seconds. Done. Round 2. Your answer is Metroplex. Your questions are A. What is the name of the biggest shopping centre in Spain? B. What is the Transformer name of the city on Earth where the Autobots live? Or C. What is the name of the main train depot in France? Go Groaners live, same as before, you know what to do. Groaner at home, you know what to do. We have C's flying in. Any more? B's flying in. We have a room split again. But Grown at home, what did you pick? You'll find out if you were right later on. Round 3. Your answer is fish. Your questions are A. What is British boxer Anthony Joshua afraid of? B. What is the surname of Earthworm Jim's archenemy? Or C. What pub game was cancelled in the late 1950s after a man choked on a whole walnut? Go Groaners Live, you know what to do. Groaner at home, you know what to do. We have B's flying in across the board there. Any more Groaners Live? Any more? A's flying in. Any more? Oh, they've abruptly stopped. Groaner at home, you'll find out later if your answer was correct. Groaners Live, you'll find out later if you scored points. Were you lucky Groaners Live and Groaners at home think you scored points? You'll find out soon enough. Speaking of luck, it's time for Oh Unlucky! Well, the BBC weather system suffered a serious glitch on around about the 10th of October. The app told users that the weather would be hurricane force winds of over 14,000 miles an hour, and possible overnight temperatures of 404 degrees centigrade. Needless to say, the residents of London would have been very unlucky, plus possibly very dead had it been real. The BBC apologised to users of the app and the website, saying it was a communication breakdown between supplier and the BBC. This week's Oh Unlucky goes out to the BBC. And now it's that time of the show where we name our Zero of the Week. This week's Zero is sad due to what they did. A great grandma who has gambling difficulties has received a 2-year suspended jail sentence. Why? She stole £115,000 from a charity based near Norfolk, UK called Sedgeford Historical and Archaeological Research Project, or SHARP for short. She was actually working for the charity as the treasurer. Those working within the charity have said their trust in her has been torn to shreds. During her sentencing, the court said the theft was a misguided attempt to repay her debts, whilst media has named her I Will Not Be. I name her as a zero only because of where she got the money from. Gambling is a serious double-edged sword and can put those who let their debts run away with them in serious problems. If you're in the UK, there are gambling aids that help you limit your gambling spends, as well as dialing 08 08 8020 133 or chat online in total confidence with Gamble Aware or the National Gambling Helpline. If you're in the USA, call 1-800-522-4700 or 1-800-GAMBLER. Both numbers will route you through to the same call centre. Also Groaners, remember, when you no longer have fun during a gambling episode, it is advised you stop. Moving along now, we must get those all-important points sorted with the game answers. Admin Nicole's anagram anxiety from last week first. This week's answer, Claudette Colvin. She was 15 years old when she was arrested for giving up her seat on a bus. This happened months before the Rosa Parks and the Montgomery bus incident. Give me the question. Round 1. Your answer was triphalia. Your correct question was C. What is the word for the situation when a guy is born with 3 willies? There's only ever been 2 cases in the world. Round 2. Your answer was metroplex. Your correct question was B. What is the transformer name of the city on Earth where the Autobots live? I actually had that figure when I was a little one. Round 3. Your answer was fish. Your correct question was A. What is British boxer Anthony Joshua afraid of? This is correct, but I wouldn't slap him with a cod as he'd most likely knock me out. Double down dummies. Round 1. Your correct outcome was B. He was lying in bed when suddenly a cow fell through the roof, landing on him. He went to hospital and sadly died of his injuries after waiting too long to be seen. This was the 3rd time it had happened. First, there was no one home. Second, a baby and child was sleeping next to the spot where the cow fell through. 3rd time was sadly someone died. Their house was right next to a hill and cows kept stepping onto the asbestos roof. You know, I would have just moved given the choice. Round 2. Your correct outcome was C. He had been given a seminar on barbecues, and between venues he hadn't extinguished the barbecue correctly. He died of carbon monoxide poisoning. They also found other barbecue-related paraphernalia in his car, also extinguished barbecues carefully and cook in an open area. Did you score points, Groaners? I do hope so, as it is a laugh writing these games, especially making up the wrong answers. I don't know how I keep a straight face sometimes. Sometimes I totally lose it. We now have our final game of this week's episode. It's Where the Hell Am I? The picture will appear on Podbean and in the Discord and Facebook groups. Your clue is, lots of myth behind me, as well as many missing because of me. Good luck, Groaners. That takes us short for another week. We have a boatload of specials coming soon, as previously mentioned. Next week, it's the podcast 2-year birthday, as well as it being the Halloween episode as well, so it's a double whammy. Keep groaning, take care, bye bye. Speaking of luck as well, it's time for wait a minute, I'm going to do that again. Or C, he'd been given a seminar on I can't pronounce this bit, what's going on?